In the Guardians of the Galaxy update, set bonuses can interact with or modify talents anywhere on the talent tree. We expect them to shake up some builds that you've been using, enable entirely new builds, or further augment some high powered abilities as you gear up in the third season of the Dragonflight expansion. Consume, this is the Blood DK, consume a Bone Shield charge. It has a chance to cause your next Heart Strike to apply Ashen Decay, reducing damage dealt to you by 10% and increasing your damage dealt to afflicted targets by 20% for 8 seconds. That's a pretty big buff. 10% flat damage reduction. Blood DK loves this. Unfortunately, it is going to come, looks like pretty late into every pack, unless you got the 4-piece. Soul Reapers, execute damage. Nobody's using that. A-Bomb limbs damage applies Ashen Decay to enemy targets, and Heart Strike and Blood Boil's direct damage extends it by 1 second. So, first impression, I don't really, I love 10% flat. I love that. That was one of my favorite things about having Death's Due in Shadowlands. That was one of my favorite things. Flat damage reduction as Blood Decay is always extremely valuable. And that's about it. Yeah, I mean, 20% damage done, that's cool. That's obviously probably numerically way better than what we have right now and have had in the past. A-Bomb Limb, pretty long CD. It's going to just apply it to enemy targets. But then, yeah, my least favorite thing in the game, extends something by 1 second. Now, I will say, though, because it's such a little amount extended, it's probably not going to get to the point where it got in Shadowlands, but it immediately makes me wonder if you have Dancing Rune Weapon up, do those extra Heart Strikes and Blood Boils extended by an extra second? And the answer is probably fucking yes. So welcome back to Shadowlands, where we're just spamming those two spells, trying to extend the 10% damage reduction and the 20% damage dealt. I don't know. I really hope that's not going to be how it plays out. On paper, it sounds like it'd be great. But as long as it's not this stupid, degenerate gameplay where you don't use Death Strike, unacceptably unfun in Shadowlands, and I will not be doing it again one way or the other. So we'll see. That's why it's on the PTR for us to test. Quickly take a look at the other tank ones. Actually, you know what? Before we do, let's hop around a bit. Because, this is pretty wild here. If you guys haven't seen, a lot of class changes. So Holy Pally got a lot of nerfs and stuff. I don't really spend too much time on that right now, but here's the Priest one. Power Infusion Haste reduced to 20% and duration reduced to 15 seconds. Power Infusion has proved to be too impactful due to how it's stacked with cooldowns on specializations that excel at dealing damage in a short window. We're reducing its duration and amplitude to balance our burst classes and keep them more in line with steady state damage dealers. Okay. Master Spell's cooldown is now 2 minutes. Was 45 seconds. We're reducing the frequency that priests have access to Master Spell as the value of the spell is exceeding the value of other utility at its current power level and cooldown. We're looking to allow for more situations where magic debuffs are applied to multiple players without having a priest trivialize the intended difficulty of the mechanic. It's really weird, though, because Blood DK has had AMS forever. Obviously, you can't remove other people's, but they have certain, stipulations for what AMS can use. Can be impacted on. Why don't they just do that? Make it so there's only a healer can dispel certain mechanics. Master Spell doesn't work unless you're Holy or Disc. I don't know. I don't really see Master Spell as that big an issue. I was definitely looking to see if there was anything about Mind Soothe, and it doesn't seem like there is. No, nothing about Mind Soothe currently. So that's really the bigger issue, if you ask me. But I guess they already made some changes to that, so we'll move on. Okay, so Vengeance. Sigil of Flame's periodic damage has a chance to flare up, shattering an additional soul fragment from a target and dealing bonus damage. Every 40 Fury you spent, it reduces the cooldown by 1 second. I'm going to straight up tell you guys, I really have not looked at a lot of specs, but I'm going to read them and ask you guys to give your thoughts on them so I can learn more and we could have a discussion. But yeah, that does not sound very good to me. I don't know. The whole soul fragment system is really hard for me to understand as Blood DK because you have basically 120 some soul fragments as Blood DK, and you get them in different ways. So it's always kind of hard to understand. Is one soul fragment really good? I don't know. When you attack a target affected by Sigil of Flame, your damage and healing are increased by 2%, and your maximum health is increased by 2% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So in AoE, you're going to get seemingly a lot, but it's just Sigil of Flame. I guess the CD is probably pretty low. especially considering the 2-set's going to help with that. So interesting. Do people like throwing down multiple Sigil of Flames? I don't know. Bear, 20% of the damage and healing and 100% of the armor you gain during Rage of the Sleeper fuel the growth of Dream Thorns, which wreath you in the protection after Rage of the Sleeper expires, absorbing 10% damage dealt to you while the thorns remain. Is that a talent? Fuel the growth of Dream Thorns. How long does it remain? 40 rage you spend. Each 40 rage you spend while Rage of Sleeper is active extends its duration by 1 second up to 5. Your Dream Thorns become Blazing Thorns, causing damage absorbed to be reflected at the attacker. I like that. I've always liked the Thorns playstyle and how Bear has a lot of it. So that's cool. How about Paladin? Judgment grants a stack of Sanctification, increasing your armor by 1% per stack. Upon reaching 10 stacks, your next cast of Consecration is empowered, increasing its damage and healing by 200% and its radius by 30%. Sanctification stacks are reset when your empowered Consecration ends. That one sounds like that might be the best that we've read so far, because that's wait, I don't know what it means by increasing its damage and healing by 200. Consecrate heals, I guess, with that talent, right? Yeah, I don't know. Radius by 30%. That's pretty cool too. That sounds like that might be very powerful. I'm interested in seeing the big consecrate. When you're within an empowered consecration, your abilities have a chance to deal 20% more damage as fire or healing too, apparently, if you use like WOG or something like that. Okay, that sounds like that would be pretty powerful passively, but again, it's seeming, I'm not really sure how it works, but it's seemingly, yeah, it's going to be probably, it depend on how big the damage buff is to that, I think, because that's going to be really big for Mythic Plus. Okay, Brewmaster, Breath of Fire deals 20% bonus damage of Shadow Flame. Oh, that sounds cool. And causes you to heal for 50% of all fire damage dealt. We love that. That is one of my favorite interactions in the game right there. Your attacks against targets afflicted by Breath of Fire have a chance to deal 5% extra damage as Shadow Flame. Wait, what? And each Celestial Brew also grants a stagger absorb equal to the amount of Shadow Flame damage you have dealt, causing damage delayed by stagger to instead be prevented. Each Celestial Brew grants a stagger absorb equal to the amount of Shadow Flame damage you have dealt. What do you mean have dealt? Like in one Breath of the Fire window or something? Or does it just every single time you do damage with it, it keeps stacking up? Huh. Well, that sounds like that's going to be really good. That sounds like that might actually be the best set bonus for the class. Like, they need that kind of thing. That sounds like that'd be really good for them. All right, and then last up, Warrior. Spending Rage has a chance to cause your next Shield Slam to consume your bleeds on a target, instantly dealing 100% of remaining damage and reducing the target's damage dealt to you by 10% for 5 seconds. Wow, that's depending on how often, I guess. When your bleeds are consumed on a target, their damage dealt to you is reduced by an additional 2% per bleed consumed. The cooldown of Thunderclap is reset, and the cooldown of Thunderous Roar is reduced by 1 second. So that one sounds like that's going to be really hard to maximize. How many bleeds do warriors apply nowadays? I have no idea. Interesting stuff here, man. I'm telling you what, this is earlier than I expected it to. Please leave your thoughts, especially on Blood DK, but other tanks too. Tell me which ones you guys think is the best one. Blood DK, honestly, I'm after reading the other ones, I'm hoping that does not mean that with like super degenerate play, you're going to have this up 100% of the time, because the other ones don't strike me as being like that. But it's probably going to happen. So I don't know. I was kind of joking when I started reading this, because it says we expect them to shake up some builds that you've been using, enabling entirely new builds. And then we're talking about Soul Reaper. Really? That's the best option? It's like, and so what they're thinking of here is, in my first opinion of this, it's like, well, you might need Soul Reaper now as a talent to get this up 100% of the time kind of thing, right? I don't actually know what the cooldown is on Soul Reaper. Let's see. I really want to see this real quick. What is the cooldown on Soul Reaper? I don't actually know. I've never taken it, not once. It is a 6-second cooldown. But it only works when mobs are in execute, I guess. Soul Reaper's execute damage. Does that mean only when mobs are low health, right? Yeah. Okay. I guess so. You can use it before, right? But if the mob is not low health, it doesn't do the secondary component. I've never used the spell. The last time I used that spell was WAD, when it was actually just a talent or like a spell that every class, every spec had. But yeah, I'm trying to be optimistic. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's gonna be good? It's probably available on the PTR. Maybe I'll hop on and try some of this stuff. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.